Well, this is probably one of the most informative parts of the class, actually, and it follows from a lot of the work we've been doing. What we're going to do is analyze the sort of high end of the deceptiveness for climate change. That is, how these think tanks that get millions of dollars, you'll see that from your first discussion due this week on the 28th, Tuesday, how these think tanks like the Heritage Foundation that get millions of dollars put in so much effort in distorting the truth. This is some really high level deception here. And I think if you recall from the Merchants of Doubt, that people on the sort of rightward tribe of American politics tend to believe what comes out of the Heritage Foundation, the Marshall Institute, the Cato Foundation. And these groups are also funded deeply by ExxonMobil, the Koch brothers, other big oil names. And so what they do is they put out these really polished things that on the surface they look really great. You know, it's an environmental report, so the politician quoting from it can say, well, according to one research foundation, and you know, they might mean the Heritage Foundation. And then they'll speak from this. Now, there are a couple of tricks here. One of them is that it looks impressive. Check this out. I mean, 74 footnotes? Wow. And so anybody looking at this at the surface would think, wow, these guys have really done their stuff. Lots of research, great footnotes. Sign me up. This looks really good. And so on the surface, it does look really good. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go from surface to examining the depths of this article. And I don't expect everybody to, tear apart the entire article. In fact, you're going to have a group project due next week that will look at sections of the article. More on that later, but let me just show you what the process is. You'd read through a given section, say this introduction, and it's basically about the Obama administration. This is a few years old. And notice that hysteria over global warming. And then they talk about how in the federal government, it's not just driving the Obama administration, but every federal department and agency. And they've got a footnote. So you think, wow, this is something real. And the whole gist of this is that it's kind of a summary. It's attacking them, talking about cronyism, favoring elites, undermining the fairness of our economic system. So it's a real heavy-hitting attack on the Obama administration and also on the scientists that make the reports, which President Obama always used as a basis for his decisions. So let me just give you an idea. So if you read through this, you get any given section, this one here, you'll get an idea. It's an executive summary, what their basic arguments are. Look at this next section. This is what we're going to do on a group discussion Friday, the myth of the 97%. And why is it important to have that be a myth? That 97% of climatologists said climate change is caused by fossil fuel, basically. If you have that kind of an agreement, you have to shoot it down. And so that's what they do. They shoot it down. And virtually all the footnotes, you got Ligatis, is a climate denialist of great repute. Richard Lindzen, another climate denialist. And so what they do, and comical, they call it biases in climate research. Well, they've got two climate denialists cited, and Richard Toll is kind of an on the fencer, but he's miscited. And so they're making an argument by people, basing it on people who have never published, never published at all. And that's the one thing. So you have to do a couple of levels. The first one is to look at the importance of that. Why do they need to destroy that 97%? So that's a critical thinking challenge one. Why is that argument so important to them? And then number two, the next level, is to research their deception. And it's actually kind of easy. You just take a keyword, 97%, and then a couple of the authors. You could use Lindzen and Legates. And then the third thing is you'd put in is skeptical science, which is a group of scientists who take it upon themselves to rebut think tank arguments. So if you just Googled that, 97%, Legates, Lindzen, skeptical science, you will get a rebuttal. So that's kind of cool. They follow these reports, skeptical science does, and they tear them down one at a time. So this is how you would do it. So the first thing would be to, as I said, look at how that argument, why it benefits them, why they don't want people believing 97% of the scientists, climatologists believe fossil fuels are heating up the planet. Then I want you to look into the tone of the argument, also how the text reads, and then I want you to look into the sources. And then after that, I want you to look into the footnotes. And you'll find virtually all these footnotes are by other denialists. And so they call that woozling. It's by backing up your argument with faulty citation. It looks good. Wow, look at this. Everything's cited. But if you dig into the citations, you'll find that everything is nonsense. Let me give you an example of that. The first one here, they talk about hysteria. If you dig into the citation, you just click on one. That'll bring you to the works cited page. Click on one again, it'll bring you back. What you find is a press release by the Security Exchange Commission, and it was not hysterical at all. It basically said that that people who list their companies on the stock market, they should provide some kind of a statement about to disclose the impact business or legal developments related to climate change might have on its business. That's not hysteria. It's just you should let the investors know that climate change may impact their business model. You don't know this, but around 2014, for example, virtually all of the major investment funds quit investing in coal plants because they realize with climate change, coal is going to go out, and they don't want to build that new $4 billion plant. So again, they're asking to disclose. There is no legal requirement. It's just a recommendation by the Securities and Exchange Commission that publicly traded companies have a climate statement. Why? Not hysteria, because investors would want to know. It's that simple. And so what I've done is I've looked at their statement, hysteria, looked at the footnote, which is not hysterical. It's common sense. So already I've got a couple of deceptions here. One is they misrepresent what the government is doing, and then on the other hand, and they cite a citation that contradicts their statement. It does not support it. And so that's how these guys work, is that you're going to find a lot of these citations are either from climate denialists or they're from citations that don't support what's being said. It's just a fascinating thing. And if you were to write a peer-reviewed article, this thing would get burned quickly because every citation is checked. And if the citation doesn't support the text, it has to be removed or the text has to be changed. And so that's what we're going to look at. We're going to look at the arguments they make, and then we're going to check those arguments by Googling the arguments and the authors, usually denialists, they cite, and skeptical science. And then we're going to look into the footnotes and see who they are by. Often, climate denialists, most often, or sources that have nothing to do with what's said in the text. So think of this as information literacy. And so on Thursday, I'll want the whole class to look into this section. I will post a video later. That is the myth of the 97% consensus. That will be a class discussion. And then for your final project, which is a group discussion, I'll want your groups to look at any one of these, well, either a brief history of climate change, that section, or this next section here, what the science tells us. There are about 5 subheadings. Taking the world's temperature, that would be a great section. Climate models versus reality. No trends for more extreme, frequent natural disasters. Sea ice, glaciers, and ocean acidification. And I think any one of those sections would be excellent for a group to take apart. And I will assign each group a section and provide clear instruction. So again, I just want to give you an overview of what we're doing. Right now, all I have is the first assignment due Tuesday, tomorrow, July 28th. I will write up the assignment that's due Thursday, July 28th, July 30th, pardon me, and in a few days, and by tomorrow, let's say. And then I will also submit the group project outline, which will be pretty thorough, and that'll also be done by tomorrow. So I'm just trying to give you a heads up of where we're going, and I hope this helps you. My apologies for getting a little bit overwhelmed here. I'm going to start your middle essay today. I'll be done with that during the week, and I will also catch up on the grading, and a little bit of a week lag. It's just too much for me to keep up with in the crunch week of the semester. So anyway, this will help you get started, and I'll talk to you guys tonight too. I'll be there for our class meeting, which I think is 7 to 8 tonight. Okay?